course, welcome to Brandy's Cards. So I'm so excited to be here with the founder of Stampin' Up, Shelli Gardner, and her daughter, also the CEO of Stampin' Up, Sara. And so we're just so excited to be here, and you know, it's quite a privilege to me to have them with me here today to kind of share our stories and talk about Stampin' Up and how they got started with Stampin' Up, and then of course how I got started with Stampin' Up, and kind of how all of our lives have come together. Stampin' Up is an amazing company to be a part of, and really excited to share with you ladies today. So thank you for chatting with me. And I know, Shelli, I mean, how was your vision? Like, how did you think of starting Stampin' Up, or what was?
I love how you say, how was your vision? I don't know that there was really a whole lot of vision in the beginning. It was really more about two sisters who were stay-at-home moms who needed an outlet. For me and for my sister, we had different needs. For me, it was more social. I had 4 little girls at home, and I needed a little social outlet. She needed to raise a little extra money, and we both loved the creative outlet that Stampin' Up or something like Stampin' Up could provide. We both had sold for other direct selling companies, and we felt like a company like Stampin' Up didn't exist, and we felt like if we wanted a company like that, why wouldn't other people want it? So when you say, what was the vision? Well, the vision was, we can do this in my living room, and we'll just put a kitty gate up between the living room and the kitchen, and we'll fill orders during nap time.
Oh my goodness.
And make phone calls to demonstrators. I mean, that's really...
So it was all in your basement?
It was all in our living room. We didn't have furniture. We didn't have enough money for furniture, and so we had an empty living room, and that became our warehouse. And
with, like she said, the kitty gate on the side.
With the kitty gate.
So we hang over the side.
What are you doing? We have a photo of one of our daughters like peering over the kitty gate and looking into, you know, the warehouse shelves. Warehouse meaning in the living room. But the vision at the beginning was just to do this to fill our personal needs, knowing that it would grow. Had no idea that
what it would become today.
It would become something so great as it's become now, right?
That's amazing. And Sara, so you've grown up in Stampin' Up.
I have, yes.
And so, like, what's it like growing up, seeing the business evolve, and now being the CEO? I mean, how did you get started? I mean, did you always like crafting? Did you always like stamping?
I think the creativity is a part of our family. It's just how we grew up with my mom and my aunt, and so depending on what it was, it might have been toys or might have something else, but rubber stamping, like the magic that happens when you put a stamp to ink to paper, you know, many of you have seen that too, I'm sure, but there's magic in that. And even for an 8-year-old or a young child, that's magic. And so that's what I remember growing up. I actually, in terms of like integrating into the business, that didn't happen until later, but I just remember how hard my mom worked and my aunt, and just watching them. And then when we got to a certain age, we could go to conventions or events.
Oh, okay.
And when they turned 12, it was
that was a big time.
Yes, it was a really big deal. Now they had to earn their keep, so they
worked.
They
Did
worked.
you work?
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They worked.
We did. We unpacked boxes. We handed out bags. We did. Later on, we got to do like demonstrations for the new products. But like that's when I first started to figure out that this was more than just my mom going to work.
Absolutely.
You know, this was...
And she forgets, but truly when she was younger, she came to work with me, and they would play office.
Oh no, I
in
totally
my
remember
office.
that actually.
So, and they did help. They did work.
She had a snack drawer. It like rolled up, and that's
Oh
where
my
all
goodness.
the snacks
And
were,
that's
right?
where the snacks were?
What she remembers. See, I remember her counting. I remember her working in the warehouse. I remember her picking orders. I would hear them playing, talking, and stuff. So it was just a part of our family. I mean, like I said, I had been doing sales since forever as a young mother, and it just, like Sara said, the magic of rubber stamps. The first time that we came across them, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I can't draw a stick figure.
I can't either.
So to be able to, to be able to take a stamp and put it on paper and say, whoa, I did that.
I'm creative. I did that.
Right.
Very cool. So we just felt like,
cool.
okay, we could do all these other things that are out there, but we want to do this, and if we want to, why wouldn't others? And to have your family be able to grow up in a business like this, and you see that with your boys.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, my boys, you know, as a matter of fact, they play Cooker Man, and they have all of their little Play-Doh, and they get creative with that. And Cooker Man is what they call it. So, I've oftentimes found, Cooker Man stuff on my table when they love to be involved.
They want to be with you.
They want to be with me, and they want to be a part of it. So whether it's putting stickers on catalogs or, quite honestly, I have to tell you, my youngest, he realized that when the ladies would come over for classes, that if he started serving drinks, he would cut their cookies for them. And if he served them drinks, they'd tip him. So they'd bring quarters. And he's
so
like,
we've got a little entrepreneur on our hands
absolutely.
here.
And he's like, now don't tell my brother. Just tell him he can stay downstairs, because he'll open their, hello ladies, mom's upstairs, and would you like some water, and she's like, I just had some water, but he was making money. He was excited. So it's a
family affair.
I think it's good for our kids to see, at least I feel this way. I think it's good for kids to see mom being successful doing something and working hard for something that they believe in, and that's making a difference in so many other people's lives too.
Absolutely. And when I started the business, I was traveling a lot, and Doug was traveling a lot, my husband, and I just didn't really have a lot of friends or network in the area that we lived. And so I called a local moms group and I said, okay, so can I come to your stamping party? I didn't know what it was, but she's like, sure. So I got there, and I remember we were all stamping, and I left, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was the most amazing experience. Like, I absolutely loved it. And so I remember he was...
so what did you love about it? I just have to ask.
I just loved the fellowship of the women, and I was not creative. I've never been creative. As a matter of fact, it would take me 2 hours to do a spread. I was like really good at going to the scrapbook store, really good at shopping, but when I got home, it's like, what am I going to do with all that? Like, where am I going to hide that? No, just kidding. And so it was really neat, because she laid it out for me, the demonstrator, my upline, and she laid it all out, and it was all beautifully done, and it was cut, and it was ready to go. And so she said, okay, Brandy, well, this is how you do it. And I made a masterpiece, but I truly didn't realize how special it was until I sent it to somebody. And then that somebody, the recipient, says, oh my gosh, did you make that? And it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the means, but I did. I made it, and I felt good when I sent it. And then to know that they received it, that meant a lot to me. And then really pushing my boys to understand the importance of thank you notes, the importance of being grateful, and then working hard. And so I came home, and I remember getting into bed, because it was like late when I came home, because those, stamping fellowship parties go for like ever.
It's actually the best.
It is. Absolutely. It is super fun, but they run late. And so I came home, and I told Doug, I'm like, I am absolutely going to sell this stuff. And he's like, sell what stuff? And I'm like, stamps. And so he said, okay, if that supports your habit, that sounds like a great thing. And
sounds like so many other supportive husbands.
Absolutely, right? Sure. So then I went to convention, and I saw you guys. And Sara, I don't know if, it would have been, 5-6 years ago? Would that have been... you were doing demonstrations on stage. Mm-hmm. I remember you on stage.
She's been doing demonstrations on stage.
For a long time, right?
For a really long time.
Convention was amazing, and I was so inspired. I actually, for other demonstrators out there, I actually wrote down all these names and people that inspired me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love those projects. Who is that lady? And I wrote these things down, and then I went out and I researched everybody, and I was like, okay, so wow, that's super cool, and I like how she did that, and then I started to think, okay, how do I find out who Brandy is? How do I figure out what's my place, and who am I in Stampin' Up? And so
and now you are the person that people write down and are inspired by. Isn't that cool?
It's pretty neat.
That's nice.
It's a blessing to know that. I'm very excited to know that I'm inspiring others today, and that. Whether it's somebody who just can't get out, or somebody who's not feeling well, I truly believe that if you give freely, it comes back to you tenfold, and so that's really how I've built my business. So we joined, we jumped in, and I did lots and lots of workshops, and so I have to tell you though, and I want to hear your guys' story really quick too, about maybe a situation when you had a stamping party and it just kind of went terribly wrong, or something went wrong.
And
We've all been there.
I think everybody's been there.
Yes, I think so.
But you have the most forgiving crowds.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. So we were up in this room and the air conditioning sort of wasn't keeping up. It was really hot in North Carolina. And humidity, like, oh my goodness. And so I had invited like 15 people that were coming to my class, but a couple of them didn't realize you couldn't bring a friend without telling me. And so it ended up being 23 women jammed in this room. I ran out of white paper. And so I'm leaning over the edge going, Doug, you have to go to Staples. I need more paper. I was completely out of white paper. And I had these like studio lights because everybody had to be able to see. And I had these big lights in there, but it was so hot. And I'll never forget going over to the corner of the room and one of the sweet ladies was like, and she was bright red and I thought she was gonna pass out. And I'm like, we are cooking like rotisserie chickens in here. I'm like, Doug, get the fans. And so it was, but everybody came back.
I was gonna say, I'll bet everybody remembers it.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, I mean in a good way.
But it was super, super fun. And so what was tell me one of your funny stories. I'm sure you have.
Probably, well, I'm sure I have more than you want to hear, but the first one that came to mind when you were saying this was one of my very first workshops, and Stampin' Up! Was not very old at all, months old.
New. I think I know the one you're going to share.
Well, it's just the first one that comes to mind because I was mortified. It was, like I said, the company was only a few months old. We weren't selling the heat tool yet. I don't even know if there were any at the time.
Totally
but
know the story.
embossing powder was my thing. Still is kind of my
It's your aha.
favorite. Yes,
Your wow.
it's my wow. It's,
Yes.
it's the technique that people still ooh and ah over.
All the time.
And you never, at least I never tire of it. So I love embossing. And I remember taking everybody from the living room into the kitchen. And it was in a rural area, not that it matters, but we were in this like farm kitchen, and they had a gas range, and I turned on the gas, and
To heat the embossing.
powder.
No heat tool. You have to heat it over the stove.
Yes. So I took
Was there a
everybody in.
disclaimer or a caution with that?
Well, actually, I'd never had a fail moment, and so I'm heating up the embossing powder, and it took off, and it started on fire.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, but I have to tell you, I sold embossing powder. Everybody had to have embossing powder. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. I mean, I did make it work.
Oh my goodness.
But not without a little bit of a flame. It was scary. We, of course, told all the demonstrators, which there weren't very many at the time, but it was like, okay, don't do this. This did not work out well. And so we would tell everybody to go get an electric, the little heating plates.
Like a hot plate.
Yeah, hot plate.
Hot plate, yeah.
And say, take that with you so that you aren't stuck with a gas range, because I had used electric.
Oh my goodness.
And I just figured, gas will work the same. I'd never had a problem. And so anyway, that was my moment. But everybody loved it. I mean, they laughed and they oohed and they awed, and it was a really good party. I mean, it was
awesome.
The sales were great. So it turned out fine, but
Sometimes you just need a little comic relief.
That's exactly right. Sometimes honestly, Sarah, I have to tell you, I still laugh about the dead bird from convention.
That was one of those moments. Yes, a watercolor bird.
And you stamped it, and you were like,
in red.
Okay, so that's a dead bird. And I was
It looked like I killed it. It totally looked like I killed it. It was like,
but I was like, oh, it's okay, Sarah. It's okay. You're doing good. Come on. You bring it back home.
it was good.
You did great.
It worked out well. I was thinking when you started talking about your first experience, and I signed up to be a demonstrator before I was ever, we lived far away from the home office, and so when my oldest daughter was born, I signed up to be a demonstrator. I thought, okay, I'm in a new place. I don't have any friends. I don't have a way to meet people because I've got one car, and Sean took it to school and work and everything. So I was stuck, and I was like, I'm going to be a demonstrator, and then that way I'm going to get out in my community and I'm going to get to meet people. So I booked this workshop at the time. This is like one of those most embarrassing moments. It wasn't anything really, I think, that I did necessarily, although I had no idea what I was doing. You'd think that I would have, right? So I show up, and there was like 2 people there. The hostess, and her daughter. And I was like, so as a demonstrator, I was like, this is not going to work.
Yes.
This is not going to work for me. But I think after
And she's been a demonstrator ever since.
I know, I've
Yeah,
been a demonstrator
I know.
ever since, but it just, sometimes you have to kind of,
Go with the flow.
go with the flow. And we had such a good time together.
Yes, I love that story. I love that story in so many different ways because I have, I got a call from Parks and Rec, and I try to tell the ladies that, you know, people that contact me and say, well, how do you know, give me some ideas on what I can do. And I contacted Parks and Rec, and I said, okay, so I want to do a class at the, at your local center, and you can put me in your flyer and all this stuff. And they were like, great, we'll do that. And so 7 months goes by and not a single phone call. And so I'm like in the newspaper like every day, you know, Brandy Cox, you know, card making class. And it's like crickets. And I'm like, Doug, should I be like worried that nobody's called? And he's like, it's okay. It's okay. And so it took this one lady to call me, and she says, hi, Brandy. She says, you know, I saw your class, and I was just wondering if it was still on tonight. And I'm thinking, sure. You know, it's been on the last 8 months, but you know, absolutely. What would you like to do? How about we stamp? And she was like, okay, well, show me what we got to do. We had so much fun. And what I didn't know is that she works in a lotion company, and she had access to all of these women. She took her crafts back home. She showed all these ladies at work, and they were like, that looks so much fun. And from that day forward, that class was thriving. I had more people than I could do, and it was really amazing. And so I think, you know, just
Patience.
Yes. You know, and I think you plant
Give
that
yourself a
seed,
break,
and you
you know.
give yourself a break, and it's okay, you know, and so that reminds me of that a lot, because I remember thinking, where is everybody, you know? So it's pretty neat. But you know, one of the things that, you know, I just have to say, you know, one of the things that I love most about Stampin' Up is that it's truly so much more about, you know, more than paper, ink, and stamps.
Oh, for sure.
And I love your statement of the heart. I love how you guys, you know, we hear it from demonstrators every day, right?
Well, when you ask a demonstrator why they started
Yes.
and why they're still here, whether it's a year later or 10 years later, it's always about the people. I mean,
is
they love the
always
products.
Majority. I would say
People.
between
But
people
it's-
and products, I
yeah.
think those are the responses I get most.
Yes.
I love the products, but the community
But
that I'm
the-
part of, or
the
the
really-
class that I go
Absolutely.
to, or the people that I've met, or my Stampin' Sisters that
Yes.
that have changed my life, or that went through cancer with me,
It's
or
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is truly unbelievable, and you know the difference that it's making every single day. And I think whether you're you know, no matter how you're doing Stampin' Up and your business and that sort of thing, whether you know you're doing workshops or you're sharing online or you're sharing on a blog or you're sharing on Pinterest,
Doesn't
I
really
think
matter.
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
Absolutely does not matter. And you know, and that's what I try to share with folks is that I just really want them to just feel it in your heart, and it's contagious. It's truly contagious.
And it evolves over time.
It does.
Because the reason somebody may start is entirely different
Yes.
for the reason why they stay.
Yes.
And it's usually people that keep somebody engaged, whether as a demonstrator or as a customer. It's usually
It's their
the
connection
friends.
with
Yeah.
the people that they've met, their connection to you, or their connection
Correct.
to the company. Personally, the people that we've met, I feel that way about the demonstrators that I've grown up with, knowing.
Right.
You know,
Well, they're your
that's-
friends.
They're my
They're your
friends.
family.
Yeah, they're my
Yes.
yeah. And Stampin' Up is
Extended
that. It's
family.
just a big family.
It sure is. It's truly it's been an amazing journey for us. And I have to tell you, my father-in-law is my courier, so he comes in every day and he takes my mail. And so he's always like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, and he gets so excited to read, "Oh, it's Sally from Hawaii," and "Oh, you know, we're sending it here and there." And you know, my mother-in-law, she helps me with some organizational stuff, and you know, and the boys help, and then of course, you know, just getting some help with Doug and how supportive he is, and it's truly just been a blessing to be a part of this company. And thank you, Shelli, for all that you've done, and Sara for all that you've done and are doing every day. And I just really appreciate this opportunity to be here and to be a part of this celebration. Should I tell them what I'm celebrating?
I think you should.
think you should.
Definitely.
Okay.
You totally
so
should.
I'm really excited. I'm actually celebrating my $1 million achievement here with Stampin' Up. So very excited about that. So it took a lot of hard work, and
Nobody gets here without a lot of hard work.
And I feel like, and it's valid, you know, things kind of come and go, and I've watched the wave of customers come in, and then lives change, and then they go out, but then new come in and new go out. And I think it's just figuring out that flow and being able to keep up with, okay, you know, I understand that life changes and that you're not interested in stamping now, but they always come back when life changes or babies get bigger or kids go to college or whatnot, and that this is something that truly everybody can enjoy. And one thing I get a lot is it's like therapy. You know, people just really...
Creative therapy.
Creative therapy.
Those of us who participate in it know that it is definitely therapy of all different kinds.
Stamping itself and then being part of that community.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some people to chat with and common interests and support when you need it.
So before we wrap up, where do you guys see the company in the next 4 or 5 years? I mean, what do you see for us?
Oh, I think that Stampin' Up! Is going to be around for a really, really, really long time. At least that's the way I look at it. I want it to be there for my kids and my kids' kids, and the same way that it has been kind of in my life.
It's been, as you said earlier, it's been a real blessing for our family. We've learned a lot together. We've had some really great times and some really challenging times, but they've all ended for the better. We are I think, a better family. We're better individuals. And so I would hate for that to stop for our personal family, and then for the Stampin' Up! Family that's become so large. We want that to continue, and there's no reason why it wouldn't.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I love about Stampin' Up! Is that the family values, and watching your family support each other and watching everybody grow together, you know, and seeing everybody on stage and the impact that that's saying to everybody about it's a family and you're our family as well. And I feel like that's what we're doing in my family personally with my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my husband, my boys see it. And so it has brought us great opportunities that I just feel so grateful for. And I just feel so blessed in relationships and friendships. And I have never been full of so much joy in my whole life. I feel so just full of joy and blessings. And
well, you're so willing to share that too.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us to be a part
for letting
of
us chat with you today.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. We get a hug. So thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for joining us today and watching my chit chat with Sara and with Shelli. We're just really excited to be here and to celebrate my $1 million milestone. Yay! Yay! And I'm going to be around as long as they'll keep me around. And super excited to share with you guys some more. And if you haven't had the opportunity, make sure you hop on over to Brandy's cards and check out some of the videos and the tutorials that I have available. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.
Bye. Bye.